back to Between Us Girlies. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Bailey.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Bran.
And today, I have a girly quote for you all. This is a quote by someone who holds near and dear to my heart. And for the YouTube viewers, you'll see what I'm doing. But for the listeners, I'm making a circle with my fingers. And this is a quote that my mother says, and she goes, "See this circle? It's the no BS zone, and I live there." And I love that because it's great to remember. BS is not for the girlies.
I love that.
So,
Period.
Love that.
I want to do that to someone. Like they start talking to me, this is the circle, and just see what they say.
I like that.
This is the circle.
Yep, that too. We can also do that.
One time Lindsay was talking to me and I was just being such a bitch and I just start going like this. And I go, "Sorry, I'm just waiting for you to shut the fuck up."
Oh, you nasty.
I forget what it was.
That's funny. I'm gonna
Don't be
keep that.
disrespectful.
You
If
guys
you
see how
ever
I'm
tried
treated
that
at
with
home?
me, I would cry.
I almost did. My mouth was agape on the floor.
I know one time I said to some girl, she was like talking, we were in a fight, and I'm like, "You can stop talking because I really don't care."
That might have been me.
No, I said no. I don't. I maybe said that, I maybe said it jokingly, but like, save your breath, babe. And that like honestly gets someone.
Such an effortless drag.
It is.
Yeah.
I love when you're like fighting with someone, you just like start mimicking them. Like that's just so disrespectful.
Or yawn.
Yeah.
If you're going,
So rude.
Oh, my yawn is excellent.
Me and Jake had to literally, like, when we first started dating and we would fight, we would, like, when you're trying to prove a point, it's so hard to not mimic someone, especially when you're talking about something that they just did. You just, like, naturally take on a voice that you think is them. And it got so bad to the point where, like, we literally aren't allowed to mimic each other because I fucking hated the voice he did for me and he hated the voice I did for him.
because it
So now
sounds nothing like the person.
Yeah, and it would always make it more dramatic. It's
Yeah.
like, he's
Oh,
like, I
that's
literally
so
didn't say that.
disrespectful. I like it.
Yep.
Well, speaking of disrespect, that's all me and Brandon did to our bodies this weekend.
Love to hear it.
I'm exhausted, you guys. Like, I am feeling the effects. Miami and then Vegas. I feel like I need an IV.
You look great.
Thank you.
What about me?
You know?
I honestly mentally feel great. Like the trip was so great to Vegas. Like multiple times, like me and Lindsay were getting like emotional just with like how grateful we are for like everything and every opportunity. And like I truly came back yesterday and I just was like, I'm honestly so excited to like get back into a routine, continue to grind because I've just been traveling the last 2 weeks and March was just nuts. And I just felt really like centered. That's not normally how I would expect to feel after a trip to Vegas, but like I felt very like mentally at peace. It was a great fucking weekend. We were there with Hulu and Vanderpump Villa, which just premiered today. First of all, the show is actually good as fuck.
It is.
They sent us the first 3 episodes before the trip, which me and Lindsay wanted to watch because the trip was influencers and the whole cast of the show. So we were with the whole cast at the whole weekend. So Lindsay and I watched all the episodes on the plane. So we like knew every single person when we like walked in there. So that was really cool. And if like the show blows up, like all of those people are going to blow up.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. And we just had like such a good group of people. We were with Audrey, we were with Kennedy. I met Alexis Oakley. She's so sweet. Then I met like some of my like favorite reality people. So Lauren Ashley Beck, who's on Survivor, been obsessed with her content for years. So cool to meet her. It was just such a really great group, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah, we had a good time. So we went with the A-list, and the A-list just always treats us so well. Literally last January, we all went to their showroom. They gifted us so many things. I went with them to the Hamptons with Patron. So this is my second trip with them, and they just like always go above and beyond. Like the suite that we were staying in was just like
It looked massive.
it was
huge.
you could fit like 8 of our apartments in there. Like
That's
it was
crazy.
so big. They give us so much stuff, and they just always create like a really fun itinerary. They treat you to so many things. So it was just like incredible.
They're also really nice, like very down to earth girls.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. When you're just like a business in the world of like every business that exists right now, like putting those extra touches makes such a difference.
Yeah. So personal with like handwritten notes, every single thing, like little details in your room. Like it was incredible.
It really was.
Did you have a fun time?
Yeah, it was really fun. I had one story to tell. So one of the nights we all go to the club, I was feeling fine. I was having a great time. And we were all separated by 2 different sections. So the section wasn't big enough to fit all of us. So they separated the influencers and then the cast, but we were all mingling in between them. The way to get to one section was to use the entrance to the section. But no, we decided that we were going to scale the back of the booths to get from one section to the next. So your dumbass friend Lindsay decided that she is going to drink a bunch of alcohol and then scale a booth in front of one of maybe the biggest shows that's going to come out this year. Lisa Vanderpump is there, the executives of Hulu,
That's wild.
the cast. It's crazy. I am almost at the top of the mountain where I need to be, and bang, your girl goes flying.
Shut up.
Not only did I go flying on an elevated surface, we were in back of the DJ. So the club is packed. We were at Omnia. It is packed. Everyone who was looking at the DJ is like, that girl fell. I can feel it. All of the Hulu people are staring at me with their mouths on the ground. And my back cracked like a glow stick.
Wait, how did you fall?
On my back,
Like slipped?
yes, like slipped back. And I literally told everyone, my back cracked like a glow stick.
Did it feel good?
No.
I use that term when I need my back cracked. So I
No,
thought you were
this
like,
wasn't a back crack. No, and for the
It was a
listeners,
back break.
Like a
it was a break.
debilitating one.
And I've broken my back before as a
that's
child.
right.
So my PTSD kicked in. I'm on the ground. Everyone's, Lindsay, get up. I go, I was like, you guys, I can't breathe. I went into shock.
Oh, you got the wind knocked out of you.
Yes.
Got the
Oh my
wind
God, you
knocked out of
fell!
No, like it was. I honestly said that was a Bailey fall. Like Lindsay doesn't typically fall.
Never.
And unfortunately, if there is one nervous laughter that I have, it is when people fall or trip. And I was not a good friend because we were in a group before. It was Audrey, her friend Chloe, Lindsay, and then me. And I'm fourth in line. Audrey and Chloe get to the mountain. Then it's Lindsay's turn. And she's not kidding. When I tell you, I think her body went horizontal.
Oh my
Like,
God.
Fell. And it looked like it hurt.
It
But
still hurts.
I know it was wet too.
Unfortunately, I get anxious and start laughing. And Lindsay also laughs at everything. Like, Lindsay's the type of person to laugh at you if you fall. And Lindsay was an actress, like Oscar nominee. I can't see her like saying that she can't get up because I'm behind her. Then she gets up and starts like fist pumping, and everyone's like, yeah! Like,
What
it's
was I supposed to
truly,
do?
like, party moment.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, she's good. Then like a few minutes go by and she's not good.
I look at Brandon and I say, well, Brand, I need to go home because I'm in excruciating pain.
No.
And it honestly still hurts.
Did your outfit get messed up?
Oh, sweetheart. I was wearing a white skirt.
That's why I asked, because you had both of your outfits were so fucking cute.
She ate
but
down.
specifically the white skirt, I was like, I hope it wasn't that nice.
And that pink
Well,
top.
You guys are going to love this. As the listeners who are actual girly fans know, little Lindsay goes to vacation, UP, unprepared. We had one theme night. It was supposed to be a purple outfit. I brought nothing purple, but granted, they told us a few days before, so I had nothing in my closet. So before one of the biggest events that we were supposed to go to, I said to Brandon, we have to go to the mall. I'm not going to be the only person not in purple. By the way, I was one of the only people in purple. But we were late to an event because I was searching the mall, just scaling for outfits. And Brandon was getting frustrated and I got anxious. And it was just like a little like pit in the trip.
Our little pit, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, girl.
Well, I have a story that will make you feel better if you're embarrassed about falling.
Yes.
Because one time my sister was in Vegas, and this was back, I think it was Diplo. She was at like a Diplo show, and he used to like call girls up on stage, and he used to have them dance on like his DJ table. Oh, no. And this girl that she wasn't with but was called up at the same time as her was dancing on the booth, and like the crowd started hyping her up. So she was like twerking on the booth. And right when the beat was supposed to drop, she like anticipated it. So she jumped up to do a split and she knocked the cords out of Diplo's DJ set. So the music dead stopped in the middle of a Vegas club because this girl twerked into a split and knocked it all out. So your
And a
story
dead
isn't as bad
silence.
when you think about something like that.
Wowzers. It's not great.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
Lindsay. I'm so sorry. I still have some back patches from Miami.
Yeah, if anyone has some Bengay, some icy hot
It
Tylenol.
sucked because it happened right as Cedric Jervis was coming on. And like, it was so fun. And I was such a bad friend for 10 minutes because I was like, I'm not going to leave. And then I was like, wait, I literally have to. Like, my friend is in agony. And I left. But
Well, no. Then he came back to the hotel room. And this is when I could truly be myself. Like we all know I started crying. I cry at everything.
Oh, no.
I was in pain. And I'm sitting, Brandon, it hurts so bad, Brandon. He's just cackling like a witch.
I don't feel bad because you laugh at everything and everybody.
If you were in pain,
But what she's not saying Lindsay is a very detailed person. So the way she's describing everything, like even her saying, I cracked my back like a glow stick. Like she is like vividly describing her agony. And like, I just couldn't hold it in. I was so uncomfortable. But like also it was funny.
You're not a good person.
Did
No.
the alcohol help at all? Or did you instantly become sober?
She like wasn't
The
that
crazy
drunk.
thing is, I loved because when I told my mother this story, I was like, my back hurts. I'm not coming to Easter. My back
Bro.
hurts. She was like, well, what happened? And it was so refreshing to be like, I wasn't even lit like that. Like
Yeah.
it truly was an accident. So I wish. In fact, my tummy hurt really bad. So it was actually hard to drink.
Damn.
But
Did you guys like Vegas though?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I honestly loved it.
we saw this really cool show. They like took us to this thing called Absinthe.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
I've heard of that.
Sick.
Yeah, it's really sexual, like
So
acrobatics.
raunchy. Like the host like calls people out of the audience and says like the most fucked up shit to them. Thank God he did not come over to me and Lindsay's section because my mental health would not have been able to handle it. Like he's calling people fat, ugly, lesbians, like
Racial
very-
jokes.
Yeah, like very problematic. The whole crowd like loved it, but I was like, he cannot come this
Did
way
you like
because
it?
I am unwell.
No, I would die.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you guys ride the what's that roller coaster that's outside? It's like New York.
I
New York
did
or
see
something
the
like
roller
that.
coaster.
New York roller coaster.
Hotel,
I
yeah.
also wanted to ride the ferry. We need to go back and like I like want to go back and do touristy shit. Like I like wish we could have gone to like the Sphere.
The Grand Canyon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I would totally go back to Vegas and like do like a trip. But we loved it. It was so fun. You just have getting an Uber in Vegas is horrible.
I took taxis when I was there. 'Cause it was a lot
Honestly, we
easier.
should have because there's specific Uber spots and they're in the parking garages of every building on like a
Yeah.
random level. And these casinos are massive.
Huge.
Like they say it points that way, but you have to turn like 6 times. And when you're like drunk, and you know how overstimulating casinos are, like that was like the only part that I like literally hated. But the first 2 days we like didn't really even leave our hotel because everything was in the Paris because that's where Lisa Vanderpump's like most of her restaurants are in. So it was really cool. And then we got to meet Lisa, and
That's
she was
awesome.
so nice, like so clean. Like she just like just
Like
Yeah.
she smelled good.
yeah, and like she just radiates class, like so
Yeah.
classy. It was honestly iconic. Like
I loved her
was shook.
on Housewives because she has pet swans. She's
Mhm.
like,
In
come
the
here,
background,
and
yeah.
like the
Was she
swan.
a housewife?
Yeah, I think Beverly
Oh.
Hills.
Yeah, and she was with Ken, and they came to the club with us, which was so funny.
Oh my
Like it was
God.
honestly so iconic.
That's awesome that she was like interactive with you guys.
She was
Like,
super
with
interactive.
And she was bopping around, full blown party
Yeah, she
animal.
was jumping from person to person.
Popcorn
Like
chicken.
she was an angel. But yeah, it's so interesting. Like I've been on now 3 brand trips in the past month, which is like a lot.
Jesus.
And like some influencers, like I don't want to talk shit, but like I feel like some just are not like as grateful. And there was no one on this trip in particular, but like there was people that I heard didn't come on this trip. And like it's weird to like hear like some people's like standards. Like some people were like complaining about an itinerary or like complaining about where they, and I hear this for every trip. Like you hear that someone's being a diva about something, and it's just like, I did not grow up like getting access to this stuff. Like I didn't grow up broke. Like I got to have vacations, but my vacations were to Wildwood, New Jersey. Like that's where me and my family would go. So like anytime I get an opportunity to like do something like this, like it's always going to feel like so cool to me that like this is my job. Like I literally am going on a work trip to Las Vegas, and like I get to bring my best friends with me, and like it's sick, but like it's kind of disheartening to like see how like the opportunities like don't mean as much to some of the other people. Like I went on a trip a few weeks ago where like one of the creators didn't even show up to the event, and like it was the only thing that they had to do, and they literally like walked in and just like went to a different area and waved. And I was just like, someone would have been so grateful for that spot, and like you gave no respect to the brand. So it is like weird like seeing just how like different people react, and like honestly just privilege, like how some people literally grew up rich, so like this stuff like doesn't like they've flown first class before, they've stayed in a suite before, like it's kind of like, I don't know, it's weird to see.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
I feel like it's not even like those little things. It's like the fact that somebody went out of their way to consider you. Like your work meant enough to them where they were like, oh, I'm
Right.
picking you over someone else. And it's like, that should be like that. You should feel grateful for that as it is. But
Yeah.
I feel like people just like, I said multiple times to Brandon, I was like, I am sadly grateful. Like I'm sad that like there are people who don't appreciate this stuff, but I'm really grateful on like my end that like I get to be here. Like it's just I don't know.
I feel like not even in defense. This isn't saying it as in defense of those influencers, but I also think so many influencers are so young.
Yes.
Like they blow up so young, and I don't think that they've like you worked, Brandon, in a corporate job. Like you were not an influencer in your adult life, so it's like these kids get thrown into this like crazy money, these crazy opportunities, and they've never like had to have like an adult struggle, I guess. And so it's just like. It's almost unfortunate for them because they don't get to see how like beautiful these things that they get to do really are.
No, it's so true. Like, and I've noticed that with definitely some of the creators that are like 22 who legit were influencing in college and then leave college and they never work a 9 to 5. Like, I'm so grateful every day that I worked a 9 to 5. If you include interning for 5 years and like learned that part, like I know what it's like to get up and go to work every day. I'm so glad now I can appreciate that like I don't have to do that and I can make my own schedule. But it's hard seeing some people just be like honestly out of touch with like the things that they say and do. But yeah, I love going on these brand trips and it's so great to connect with other people. But like there's a reason why I live in Philadelphia. Like sometimes when you get into that bubble, like I couldn't imagine living in New York or LA where like influencing is like all you know and it's all the people you hang out with every night you're going to events. It's like I'm so grateful for you guys and like the real life friends that I have and experiences because it is like it's like another entertainment industry, honestly. Like you see like the effects that it has on some people. Like some people are fucked up. Like we talked to some creators this weekend, like, and we've heard some of their life experiences and what like friends have done to them, what relationships have done to them. And like you get sad, grateful. Like me and Lindsay looked at each other. I'm like, I'm so glad that you're my friend. Like, I'm so glad that you're who I brought with me. Like, I'm so glad I have so many friends like you because not everybody has that. And not everybody has a good support system. Like, it was crazy hearing some of the stories that we heard this weekend.
I was just thinking that, like, maybe another reason is that, like, a lot of people these days, like, we all make content, like, to help others and get, like, messages out and all that. But I feel like a lot of times, a lot of younger creators or anyone out there, like, they just want the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, they want the following. They want to get sent free shit. Like, and I don't think the heart isn't in it, really. So they're not appreciative, which really sucks.
That's what I'm saying. Like somebody picked you for your work.
Yeah.
It's like, think about that. Like you produced something that somebody liked. It's like, be grateful. Like exercise like some kind of gratefulness. It's
No, it's so true. Like even before we went to Vegas, I had to bring Lindsay to New York with me because I'm doing a brand sponsorship with Panera.
Yes.
And I thought it was going to be like an influencer event, but it really wasn't. It was like all people in like digital agencies and marketing. And there was like 2 other creators there that were on the campaign. And like just hearing them come up to me, like the people who worked for the agency were like, we pitched you, like we put you in a PowerPoint, like we showed all our examples of like content that we love from you. Like someone literally took hours out of their day, like scouring through my channel and like pitching me to a brand. And then like, that's just crazy that there's like some people that like literally think like, oh, we need brand for this. Like it's so cool. And I'm so grateful for that. Someone was a little shady to Lindsay on the trip though, and was like asking some crazy questions about me, which I thought was wild.
Go ahead and say their name because I'm on the flight.
their name. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We can talk about this off camera. I'm a little
Asking me very personal questions about Brandon, and I was like, this is not your place to ask me these things. So I find it interesting how people have a few drinks and then they're like, oh, your best friend's going to talk about you. Kind of goes back to that where it's important that we have real friends because I just would never go up to somebody and be like, so what's going on with Bailey's home life? How's Casey doing?
Me and you also you always say this, but like it's wild that people like don't know like the boundaries or who is around. Like why would someone go up to you that is so close to Brandon to talk shit? Like even people like in our like day-to-day life in Philly, like it makes no sense why someone would try to get that information out.
I have said from the rip, this is the core 4. I am literally not friends with somebody, but this person is on my shit list because they said one thing about Casey that has sat with me so incorrectly. Like when you talk about this group, like this is a boundary. See the circle? Like this is the quad.
Literally, that's the pyramid, I think, for this week is there. I've made a TikTok about this before. There is a hierarchy. Like you don't ask someone below about someone above. You don't ask an acquaintance about their best friend. If you want to ask an acquaintance about their acquaintance, maybe, but like you wouldn't go up to someone and talk shit on them to like their mother. Like and that's a social cue that truly not some people have. And also I actually just made a TikTok about this and I'm skipping ahead, but like this is my immunity necklace for the week. is there is a difference between someone that is checking in on you because they genuinely are concerned versus someone that is checking in on you because they want gossip, they want business, they want to know your tea. Like some people are so self-serving, and it's hard when they are a wolf disguised in sheep's clothing and they're asking you genuine questions like, how are you? How are things with so-and-so? How are things with work? But they don't actually care how things are with so-and-so or how things are with work. They want to know for either A, they want to tell your business to somebody, so be careful. B, they want to use your down as a chance for them to flex on you. Be like, well, things with my job are going great. Like, watch out for those people, because I'm telling you, when they talk to you about other people, they're doing the same thing to you. They are spreading your business to other people. And that's a lesson that you can learn multiple times, unfortunately, because certain people in this world will have you fooled. Like, you will never know. So like, it was crazy to me that somebody like came up to me and was asking me like such genuine questions, and I gave them answers that were like appropriate enough. And then I go to the bathroom and they ask Lindsay, basically like thinking that she's going to give more of a gossipy, like, no, that's not going to happen. So I thought that was like wild, to be honest.
I feel like that's very like influencer friendships where it's like very shallow. Like, for the listeners, before we started this podcast, the four of us had a conversation where we were like, hey, we're going into this opportunity, but like, we are friends first. Like, we need to remember that no matter where this opportunity takes us, if we're all able to pursue this full time, like, we are friends first. And I don't think a lot of influencers always have those conversations, obviously, because sometimes they meet other influencers who are in the same like career path as them. So like, that just feels very like typical influencer like shallowness, where it's like, oh, like, I'm going to talk about you because we're not that close, versus us who like we all know each other's families, we're best friends. It's like so different.
Even and it gets really sticky because some people don't understand where they lie on your pyramid. Like, for example, if you feel comfortable talking nasty to me about Bailey because you think that I'm your friend, I'm always going to pick Bailey. Same goes with Brandon. Same goes with Casey. It's crazy to me that people who come in, I have to laugh because people will genuinely come into my phone on some nutty nut, and they'll just want to run their mouths. And outside of our circle, other people who are close to me, we all have our like outside of core four friends. We have a ton of friends, and there are some people who I hold more near and dear to my heart than some of you, and that's okay. Not then. Sorry, no, I didn't mean that. I meant then some of you like would hold those people also. But the comfort level is crazy that some people have. I'm like, did you really just say that?
Yeah. And there's always a difference. And like, this happened to me a few weeks ago where I'm like at dinner and someone's talking about one of my friends, and it kind of started off like a little bit constructive, like, hey, I don't think this person's like being that good of a friend to you. And I was like, okay, like, your concerns are valid. Thanks for sharing. But then it got nasty where this person then started like bashing this other person. I was like, no. If you have a concern and you care about me and you're trying to share something with me, that's okay. But what you're not going to do is then turn this into you making fun of them. Like, I'm not going to stand by that. And I like put an end to that conversation immediately. I was like, let's stop. Like, I don't agree with you. And like, basically just shut up, honestly. So I don't know. I've been learning like a lot recently, and I'm like very happy like with my circle of friends, and I love meeting new people. But like, when people are like, are you going to move to New York? Are you going to do this? I'm like, the answer is always no. Like, I love being here and being out of that bubble, because when I get to go on trips and stuff, it's so fun to be involved. But the best part sometimes is truly coming home and being like, wow, I can't wait to go back to normal life. Anyway, how was your guys' weekend? How was Easter? We missed it.
Amen.
How was your weekend, Bailey? Can you go first?
It was good. I went home for 5 days, so I just got back today, and it was honestly like when I got back to my apartment, I was like, wow, like this is great. No, it's always nice to go back to like a suburban town. Like it's just like so like I can like keep my car in one spot. Like you don't have to worry about like anything really. There's so much fast food out there. Like, but it's crazy because they're getting ready for the solar eclipse that's coming. I
still think we should go to that.
So I think when this episode comes out, it was this past Monday. So it's technically next Monday, like April 8th or whatever. But we're not going to see it in Philly, apparently, I guess. Like, it's only there's a line, a path, like, it starts in, like, Texas, and it goes all the way up to Erie. And I think Erie is where you're going to see it the most at. So I feel like everyone on the East Coast is probably going to Erie because hotels are sold out. And Erie's, like, not that big of a city. So it's crazy to see it's going to be so much traffic. Hotels are now at $1,000 a night in Erie, Pennsylvania. When I tell you our mall when I was in high school, we had just gotten a Forever 21 and an H&M. That's the only 2 stores that are there. So it's just like, I'm so curious to see everyone. What y'all gonna do? They're closing the peninsula down. Like, our peninsula's like where Lake Erie is. So like there's 12 beaches. So like, I don't know what these people are doing. There are so many like pop-ups on the side of the road of like selling the solar eclipse glasses.
Wow.
Like, absolutely nuts. The governor's gonna be there.
Oh, you guys, can we please go? I'll drive us.
I just can't imagine, because I drove back today and I was looking like the people going west, so back to Erie, and there was pretty like traffic. I think people are starting to like go in this week. It's nuts.
Wow.
But I was like, oh, good for the city. But no, I also tried out this new restaurant in Erie. So if you're listening, you're gonna be, oh wait, this already came out. Never mind. But it was called Bar Ronin. And Erie, I feel like there are like good restaurants, but like we love the Philly food here, like restaurants. But it was like a Philly vibe of a restaurant. Like it was freaking awesome. Like it was like a contemporary izakaya. And it had like ramen, bao buns, this amazing chicken, y'all. It was like, it was a dark meat. I know it was probably a thigh. But like the way it was dredged, it was like a good like Korean Japanese chicken. But like what's served with like an aioli, so like a mayo sauce, like sriracha on it. Oh, heavens. I've been thinking about it since then, because I'm like, this is so good for like a small town. Like coming from Philly and like going back home and like seeing like the development of such a small city. I don't know, it made me feel good.
I love that.
Yeah.
We can go when we see the solar eclipse.
Honestly,
You're ready.
they're like, apparently they're closing, like schools are closed. My mom's not going to work that day. Like schools are closed for like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wow. It's going to be absolute chaos. But I don't understand how the world works that we can't see the solar eclipse. Doesn't everyone look at the same sun?
Yeah, but the way that, I guess it's the way that the light hits, because I feel like they told us that lie, I think a few months ago, and my dumbass was on my roof like, where is it?
Yeah.
Not there.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, I'll go outside. I think it's going to happen like 3 p.m. But I'm like, I don't understand how that works. I don't get it.
Me neither.
I'm just so
not
confused.
the one to help you.
Like, are we just looking at the same thing?
Well, apparently you're not supposed to look at it.
Oh, yeah.
That hot Cheeto, that was our president before, the other guy. He apparently stared at the solar eclipse without any glasses on.
Oh, right,
so
right.
that was not smart.
Oh, right.
But he unfortunately can still see. So. Anyone. How about you, Case?
Yeah.
I had like a really bad weekend that ended up turning into like a really, really good weekend. So I'll be so for real. I have been struggling so bad with like the way I look. I've had an eating disorder growing up. I've had body dysmorphia my whole life, and it goes through like phases. But I would say the past like month, it's been so bad to the point where it like affects like my daily life. And that's always how I know when it's really bad versus just like, when you're getting ready to go out on the weekend and you're like, oh my God, I look gross and everything. And it's just like, that's a one-time thing. This is like
for every,
but this is like in every second of the day. I'm like just so concerned with the way I look and my weight and all that stuff. So whatever, I've been struggling with that. And Saturday morning was like the breakdown of all breakdowns. Like, I don't even remember really what set it off, which I feel like is how all breakdowns happen. But I was like bawling my eyes out. I got into it with my boyfriend, not in a bad way, like a really positive way. He was like, Case, I'm really worried about you. Like, this is becoming an issue. We had a really good talk. And afterwards, he was like, why don't we go take a walk and eat some magic mushrooms? Because if you don't know, if you don't eat the full dose of a magic mushroom, you can microdose. So you don't see anything like trippy, you don't hallucinate, but you put yourself in like a heightened state and you're like really happy. And it's like a lot of people use it for therapy, whatever. So it was a nice day. Him and I had a really rough morning, was super emotional. So we ate some mushrooms, took a walk, and I like could feel like all the like anxieties like legitimately leaving my body. We had such a good walk. I was feeling so good, and I came home and I had to review our podcast. So I was watching our podcast from like a third party perspective. It was so weird. I was like watching it like it wasn't myself. And I was like, oh my God, that girl's like so pretty. Like I like looked at it and I like liked the way I looked and I thought I looked pretty. And I was like, oh my God, wait, like this is really cute. And I like had this crazy breakthrough. I like journaled for an hour. I like wrote all these like goals for myself to like love myself better. It just like, it went from like the worst breakdown to being like so positive. I was like, oh my God, I feel so happy. I like feel so renewed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so everyone should eat some magic mushrooms if they're feeling a little depressed.
Even like sometimes it's like neat, like like those like TikToks who was like, I was like tripping, then I smoked. Like sometimes like the chemicals and like certain things like mushrooms, you know this, like it just does something to our brain that we don't have in there that we should, or we already have, it just enhances it. And like you just need to take a step back and be like, wait a minute, like I am okay. And like obviously everything that goes on, like it doesn't help that we're always on our phones. There's other things like and like your breakdown, you said something small could have probably triggered it. And it's like,
and I'm like the biggest fan of crying. I think crying is so healthy. I think it's like therapy to get a good cry out, and that was exactly what it was. Like in the middle of crying, I was like, oh my God, I'm like just crying because it feels good. And it felt good to get out. And I just feel like a weight has been lifted. So it was just so nice. Cause like, you know, when you're in a rut and you're like, dude, I'm in a rut and I can't get out of it. You like feel it. It's like week 2, week 3. And you're like, damn, why do I still feel like this? To finally get to the end of it, you look back and you're like, wow, that I feel so good. I'm so much more grateful. I'm so like happy. I have such a better outlook. So it was
and
like a bad
is like amazing.
Yeah.
Like you can literally take anything and make you just, when you're talking to yourself, it's the most honest form of talking, in my opinion, because nobody reads that unless they do. That's so messed up. But nobody reads your journal. It's literally you reading your mind and writing your mind. So it's so helpful to like, I'm glad you chose that.
Yeah, it felt really therapeutic. I like always light a candle and I just literally like laid on my bed with my feet kicking up, like on my stomach, like so like 90s movie like pose. And I just journaled and I was like, wow, I haven't done that in a year.
You know what's crazy? My girl Sabrina Carpenter, that song Feather, I was on my way back to Erie and I started crying to that song. I listen to that song a million times a day, but like for some reason, and listen to the song, everybody. Like
you've told us 100 times, we all know the song.
I know, but I feel like in this like case, like I started crying because like I was like talking about like my job, and I'm like, I feel so much lighter, like a feather, and like it's so stupid, but like you just like feel good when you just like have that like little burden off your shoulders.
There's always like little things that just make you like that relieve anxiety, and it can be like the smallest thing. You listening to that song and it's just like, oh, whoa, that feels like a huge weight's been lifted for no reason. Like it wasn't supposed to do that. But.
Yeah. I I've been trying to get into journaling, and something that's helped me because like I'm one of those people, like sometimes I truly don't know how I feel about something. Like I want to write something really heartfelt, but I don't know. So like when something happens to me, sometimes I've been journaling literally just what happened. Like I write down a recap. Like I got into a really bad fight with someone that I was close with a month ago, and I really did not know like how to process it. And I just wrote down every single thing that they said and every single thing that I said, and like even little details of where the fight happened. And like that weirdly like eased my anxiety a little bit. It almost felt like making a list of something, and it like truly like reminded me like, oh, that's what they said and this is what they said, and it like helped me kind of think. So like if you're trying to get into journaling but like you don't know what to write about, like sometimes just recapping and like writing about what you did like truly just like stimulates your brain, I think, in a different way.
That's such a good tip.
Yeah,
I feel like that's so many people's struggles. Like they don't know what to write or where to start, but that's such a good way to start.
But I relate to you. Like I feel like ever since that panic attack in Aspen, like I know I made like so many jokes about it, but like I truly have not been the same. Like I find myself like getting anxious about like literally anxiety. Like my therapist is like, Brendan, you're having anxiety about potentially having anxiety. Like even yesterday, like for the first 5 minutes of the flight, like I looked at Lindsay, I was like, shit. I was like, I'm feeling really anxious again. And then once we took off, it was fine. But like right now I'm like struggling with like things that involve anticipation, because when Casey and I were stuck on that runway for 45 minutes and the plane wasn't taking off, like that weirdly like freaked me out. And like now when I'm like anticipating something and it goes on for like a little longer, like a few weeks ago I had a meeting with someone really important and she was 10 minutes late to the meeting, and like I was like shaking at the end of the 10 minutes. I was like freaking out just anticipating her arrival, which is not normally how I am. And like I love traveling. I love meeting new people. I love seeing new things. I've never had travel anxiety. And like recently, like I get so nervous being in confined spaces. And I was telling Lindsay, I was like, the things that freak me out now, which never freaked me out before, it's like when you're flying, it's like one of the only situations in the world where you truly cannot get fresh air. Like the second you step into the airport, unless you plan on redoing security, you can't go outside in an airport. You can't go outside during the plane. So it's like, if you have a 5-hour flight and you get to the airport 2 hours early, that is 7 hours without being able to take a breath of fresh air. Like it's so freaky when you think about that. And like now I'm like triggered by like weird confined spaces, and I'm like working on figuring out like why, because before that panic attack, that was nothing that I ever felt. I never got nervous about stuff. Like it's just like really, really weird.
Yeah. Anxiety is so weird what it like latches on to. Cause like once I started talking with my boyfriend about my like weight issues, it was like uncovering 10 other issues that I was like, damn, I didn't even think that was what I was anxious about. But your anxiety like latches on to probably the most vulnerable thing it can. And then it just like keeps going. And then you have to like step back or talk to someone or journal to see it from like a different perspective and be like, oh, fuck, I didn't think that. I didn't think I was actually upset about that, but I guess I am.
I know for me, my anxiety is when I don't have, because I like am very control of like things in my life. And I notice my anxiety starts with like, I'll just get a like sudden urge of anxiety. And I'm like, wait a minute. And like, I take a step back and I like think, I'm like, all right, money, career, love life, friends, family. I'm like, where's the problem at in this? And like, sometimes I just like don't have a grasp on something. And I'm like, shit, that's where it is. Like, it sucks, but you have to just kind of like, I mean, it's easy to say this, but
no, that's a great tip to like figure out where it's from. And instead of looking at it being like, oh, it's my whole life, be like, no, it's my money. Or,
exactly. Like my friends are great, but it's like, wait, take a step back and like think about the different aspects in your life and like what, like pinpoint it so you can just get a better understanding.
Yeah. Can I share a therapy exercise with you guys? This like really changed my life. I did this. So before I went on my plane to Miami, I met with my therapist and I was like, listen, I'm scared I'm going to have another panic attack. Like, just because that's what happened in Aspen. And she made me do this chart where it's 5 columns. So the first column is the fear, which is I'm going to have another panic attack. And then the second column is like kind of the event that led you to this fear, which is I had a panic attack in Aspen. Then you make 2 columns that are evidence for, evidence again. And the only thing I had written in evidence for was it happened in Aspen. Then evidence against. She was like, how many flights have you taken in your life? I was like, probably 60 to 80. She was like, how many have you had a panic attack on? 1. Okay, so there's evidence against. Like writing down every single situation. Okay, you had a panic attack when you were over caffeinated on altitude sickness. Are you going to be having any of that when you're in Miami? I was like, no. And when you finish that 4th column, all the evidence against, like it just shows you like how unbalanced your fear is. And at the end, you write like kind of your new balanced perspective, which for me was, it could happen, but it literally won't because you are not in the same situation. This doesn't happen. That was a one-off fluke. That was a perfect storm of altitude, caffeine, hangover, lack of sleep, mixed in with a little bit of anxiety that you had, and it was brought to the forefront. And that's like really helpful. And you can do this with anything. So if you're like, your nervous thought is, I think my boyfriend's cheating. And then your evidence or the event that led you to it is like, he's weird with his phone. Like he won't show it to me. But then you make all of the other evidence for and against, and it like really helps. And I feel like in some cases, like if there is a lot of evidence for, then maybe it's a rational fear that you need to kind of reapproach and think about. But most of the time, at least for me, my fears are anxiety based and not totally in ration. So a little tip for anybody at home who's
like
dealing with that.
I know.
It's like a mash board.
It's been really helpful. And like writing stuff down, like it reminds me of like being back in school. And like it's kind of like weirdly comforting because I like loved school and like loved learning. And like honestly, this is gonna sound so weird, I loved taking notes. Like even if I didn't know if it was important, I just liked writing stuff down. You guys know I was like low-key a dick
I
sucker
like
for
taking
school.
notes too.
I
would
cheated
do,
off
like,
I love
Yeah.
writing.
I would do
great
like
notes.
cute bullet points
Yeah.
and like arrows.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like it's a study tactic too, because I would always write stuff down because I'm a visual learner. And when you write down your problems and issues, you can see it on paper more instead of it's like in your head thinking it. Like you're like, oh, like I literally had my panic attack because of the Celsius, because of like this and that.
I love that you, Bailey, do this. Like Bailey has the best penmanship ever for people who don't know how
my
she
flowers.
writes. And my therapist said to me that I need a calendar. So my anxiety stems from change. I'm bad at change. I have a lot of growth that I need to work through. And my change is in friends, it's in guys, it's in family, it's everywhere. So the things that I need to get rid of, there's a bug. Sorry, I just literally flicked it on you, Bailey.
No, it's okay.
The things that I need to change stress me out. And one of the things that I need to work on is organization. So like this is a problem in my life in every area. And my therapist was saying that I need to keep a calendar and like you need to write things down and blah, 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 blah. And your phone is always in your hand. And I thought about you, Bailey, because Bailey had like took time to write on her calendar. And she just had this breathtaking penmanship. And like every time she would send us any form of like her calendar, I was like, well, I would follow that too. So I went to Marshall's or TJ's or Home Goods, one of those. And I bought a big set of like 20 gel pens.
Yes.
And now when I journal and I like write things down, my to-do list, my calendars, I always think of you, Bailey, because I'm like, oh, this is so much better. So yes, I hate taking notes from like a study perspective, but for myself, I think it's a really helpful like way to see things.
Exactly.
You know?
It's also crazy how like everything goes back to childhood trauma.
Oh.
Like, I was talking about this with my therapist too. This is becoming a therapy
know.
session, but I
I
kind
love
of
it.
love it. And she was like, I feel like you're like very organized. Like, you love having like all your clothes in one spot. And I was like, yes, yes. She was like, did you feel like you were not in control of your life when you were younger? Like, did you feel like you kind of grew up in a chaotic environment where you weren't able to organize things? And I was like, yes. And she was like, yeah, that's your adult like brain responding to like a trauma in childhood that like you never felt like you had control, and now you want it, so you like do that. It's like fucking nuts. Like, what therapy's life changing.
No, even just like getting into a deep talk. I agree, therapy is amazing. But Jake and I, when we were talking, he like said one thing that like brought up, and I instantly responded like something from childhood, like something for context, I had an eating disorder in like 5th to 8th grade. So I was very young, but what he said like instantly triggered this like weird feeling I haven't felt since then. And I feel like retouching that feeling as an adult now and realizing that like I'm not that person anymore was what helped me kind of get over the hump. And it was like so weird. It is crazy how literally everything is just your childhood.
Even like being back home for like 5 days, I'm always like, I mean, I'm home here and there, but like, I'm like, here it is. Because like I'm like sleeping in my childhood bedroom that still has like lime green walls, but like it makes me like think back to like all of my childhood, like school, like how that shaped me. I'm like, oh, wait, thank God I'm in therapy.
And maybe that's why I love to go home. That's like a place of comfort for me.
Yeah.
That takes me out of all the chaos, bills, stress, men. Like, it's like when I go home, I don't deal with that. It's like a nice meal on the table, a clean home,
That's what it
fresh
is.
sheets, toothpaste that isn't in the dollar section. Like, like it's so peaceful to be at home. So like, I guess my trauma from home is a good thing, I guess you could say. Not good, but there are parts of my adult life that I would trade in a second just to have a little bit of my childhood, which is
I agree.
weird, but interesting to think about.
I feel that's how I feel. Because when I came back to Philly today, like I opened my apartment, I was like, oh, we're back to real life. Like I'm back to like job hunting. Like it just like kind of like I was like in La La Land for the past 5 days, like being
And
home.
it feels nice.
Yeah.
Like it really does.
Yeah.
Something I like love to go down a rabbit hole and think about is like I feel like our generation is so aware of childhood trauma and the things that happened in our childhood that made us how we are. And I'm like so curious to see us raise kids because I want to know, like, do we fix it? Do we as a generation like realize, oh, we had all these emotional traumas, like we can fix it when we parent? Or will there be like a new set of accidental traumas that we don't know about until our kids grow up and start learning things?
And that's
like,
a great, like, I don't talk about this on the podcast. And like a lot of people ask me this question and I avoid it at all costs. Like for my Ask Me Anything, a lot of people were like, do you have a boyfriend? Or like, you've talked about your boyfriend in the beginning of the podcast, but not anymore. So it's like, I'm emotionally unavailable. I'm going through an interesting period of time that like me and that person are working through, taking time for ourselves to work through for the listeners. But it was like very interesting for us because a lot of the issues that we have that we project onto each other are things, yes, from our childhood, but also from our adult lives. I have learned so much through my therapist about myself. Having my therapist tell me, Lindsay, you're not an honest person. I, yes, wanted to throw myself off a cliff, but also those moments where like that person was telling me, you're not being truthful, you're deceptive, like you're manipulating me. I was like, grow up. And like hearing those things about myself where I'm like, oh my God, that's my adult trauma. Yeah. Like I want to work on those things as an adult. I'm glad I'm in therapy. I'm glad I'm working through those things. And I'm glad like we're both talking about certain things that like will help us grow as people, even if not together as individuals. But like those, I think you talked about that little window. What's the
window?
Yeah, the things we don't know. You should explain that.
Okay, more therapy for you guys. So the Johari window, it's like a 4-axis. And then like in the upper quadrant is like things that you know and things that the people around you know. So let's say Casey has blonde hair. That's in the top row. And then in the row next to us is things that the world knows, but Casey herself might not know. So like, let's say Casey, we can see that Casey's really confident, but Casey herself can't see that. So that goes in the second window. Then there's the one below it, which is something that Casey knows about herself, but she doesn't necessarily share with the world. So let's say Casey kept Jake private and didn't tell anybody that Jake existed. She knows that she's a boyfriend, but the world doesn't. But then there's a scary fourth quadrant where like, no one knows this about Casey, including herself. Like it might be a really dark fear that you're not self-aware of and like no one else has picked up on it. And a lot of people like have stuff in that fourth window that like you can know something that then gets buried by trauma and like you kind of like black it out of your memory. Like it's like kind of freaky shit. But yeah, it's hard. Like sometimes like when you're in that top quadrant where it's like, you know that someone has like a certain quality, but they don't know that they have it. It can be really hard to push them into that upper right-hand quadrant because they just don't believe it. They're not aware of it. They don't know it. I also wanted to add to your point. I think I get asked this question a lot too. Like, am I still in a relationship? Do I still have a boyfriend? And the answer is yes. And I recently, you know, my boundaries online like are basically none. Like I share every single part of my life on the internet. And just recently, like I just realized like my boyfriend was not totally comfortable in every single thing that I share. And you know, the parasocial relationship, I get it. My relationship, I was very public about it. It was my first relationship. I love him to death. And quite literally, like a few months ago, I kind of just went cold and stopped posting about him because he's a medical student. And I don't think people like understand that. Like I'll get asked on Vegas, like, why isn't your boyfriend your plus one? It's like medical school isn't college. Like you can't just miss class for a weekend trip. Like these people are being trained to potentially save our lives in the future. Like, so that's a reason why he's not at every event with me. Like he literally can't come to some things, but also in general, like he's taking that really seriously. He has social media, but he's not like a poster that much. Like, and it just made more sense to kind of push that part, like, and keep it for myself, you know, like that's someone I love so much and he's so amazing and incredible. And as much as I love like sharing that, like sharing my best friend online, like it just wasn't really like working for us. Like people don't have necessarily great boundaries and people were approaching him in weird ways, sending him really weird messages. And like, it just was never that serious. And I was like, this is my account anyway. So I wanted to address that because I do understand and why people are like, wait, did you guys break up? Like you haven't posted him. It's like, no, we didn't. I'm just kind of taking a step back from that. And it's not that I'll never post or talk about him again. It's just, I don't really feel the need to. Like I can say as much as I want about my life, but like that's someone else's life. That might not be as comfortable as like me sharing all of that. And I want to respect that. So just like an update because I've been getting a lot of DMs and like a lot of questions on trips as to like what's going on, but that's really the only update I have in terms of that.
This is random, but it like ties into everything. But I was listening to a podcast, not ours, and this girl was saying that like it's so crazy. We have been in our adult lives like for a short amount of time. Like we've only really been adults for like say 2 or 3 years. Like when I look back to like 20-year-old me, well that's 7 years ago, but like I'm as a child, and like we were children for 20 years and we were only adults for 7 or 6 for you guys. Like it's really important to like remember that. Like we were 18. Like it feels like I was just in high school, which is crazy. But like just to remember that when you say like your adult traumas, that makes sense because like we are just children. Like we're just finally getting into the real world. Like you have a house now. Like I'm finally living alone. Like I feel like an adult finally right now.
And it's so crazy. Like when you have to do those adult things and it's your first time. So like even how you were just talking about Josue, like it being your first boyfriend and not really knowing how to even express like I love this person. It's like the smallest things can make you feel like that. Even just like with how you feel. That's why I'm so glad I'm in therapy because there are so many things I can talk about where I'm discovering things about myself. And a lot of that has been relationship focused. Like this person is a big part of my life. So it's like, I want things to be great, but it's like, this has been helping me get through it so much healthier. And I'm really happy I'm taking those steps as an adult rather than like letting it fester into trauma. Cause like, then what are my kids? Like, it's just gonna be another thing for them. So
I've got a would you rather. It's not as gross as Lindsay's. This is way more PG, way more normal.
Family friendly.
Let's make it 2023. Okay. Would you rather lose all the money you made in 2023 or all the memories you made in 2023?
Take those memories, shove them out the door.
I can't remember what I did in 2023.
If I lost all my money in 2023, you guys would be seeing talk about anxiety. Child.
Yeah. That is like a perfect storm for me because 2023 is the year I've made the most money, but like it was also one of the hardest years I had mental health wise. I would love to forget about those memories. I mean, I guess I wouldn't because like I feel like I'm better off in this year because of those. But if I had to choose, like I need that money. Yeah. So peace out to those memes.
Unfortunately, I can't survive in this world off of memories. Like I can't pay the bills with memories.
I was like, I was unemployed for half of it. So I kind of lose both ways. I made that much money and I didn't have many good memories. But I saw that on TikTok the other day and I immediately wrote it down. I was like, I have to ask that on the pod.
I like question. That. All right, what's on everyone's FYP?
Well, this was for the past 5 days when I was home. I was on my FYP because of my mother, nonstop for like 24/7. She was listening to like CNN and the new like P Diddy scandal that's going on. It's not new because like I feel like it's kind of been in the works for like the past few years. So if you haven't heard, Diddy is actually getting like charged for a lot. Like remember Cassie,
Cassie.
Cassie, me and you. She sued him back in like November for SA, like rape, like sex trafficking, and he's had so many allegations against him. And now he's just getting like actually charged for a sex traffic ring. And his house got raided, his Miami and LA, yeah, those 2 big cities. Let's say LA and Miami homes, they just got raided on March 25th by the FBI. So you know the shit's serious now. And like people were saying that he was having sex trafficking parties. Like I don't know if you guys like used to see the things where like Diddy would have beds in his backyard, like a massive bed. Like there's a lot of things that are just adding up. And like I saw like old clips with like never mind, I almost said boxer, but I can't even think of the name. Who's fighting Jake Paul soon?
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. There was like an old clip from like the 90s with like Mike Tyson, a big ass fucking like guy. I'll send it to you guys. Just like Diddy's been like kind of creepy since. But I think you would find this interesting. Young Miami is being caught up in all this, and I believe she has charges on her as well because
she was banging with him for a while.
Yes, and it's a very like it reminds me of the Epstein and Maxine. Am I getting the names wrong?
You are getting them right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like how they were the duo. It's kind of the exact
Ghislaine
same.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was like, Maxine is so
I was like,
close.
I know. I'm like, Maxine Ghislaine. Like, what could it be? But Miami was kind of doing the same thing where she was like getting the girls like for Diddy. Like it was always like Diddy was like saying to other people to do things. Like he was a ringleader. So now Young Miami, which is why it makes sense that JT. Remember they kind of
No. You need to stop. You need to stop.
I'm sorry.
There is a show on HBO called Rap Shit. That show is produced by Issa Rae and the City Girls, JT and Carisha, Young Miami. Well, I know that you haven't seen this yet, so I'm spoiling a little bit for you. Little bit of it for you. It's very Insecure vibes. If you watch Insecure,
you told me to watch it.
Yeah, Issa Rae's iconic lover. There's a part in that show where there's a huge, like, it's not sex trafficking, but it's prostitution, and it gets out of control. And I'm wondering if any of this has to do with her personal life, because what you're saying is sounding very much so rap shit adjacent.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's crazy how people will put their illegal activity in their songs and productions. Like, the fact that TK is in jail because he literally admitted to killing someone. Melly wrote a song called Murder on My Mind. Yellow tape around his body. It's a homicide.
Listen,
you just incriminated
still
yourself.
bangers though. I can't. Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy. But it sucks because when you think about it, like Diddy, I mean, he's been around for how long, and he is like a powerful man. But it sucks that he has gotten that much power to be in a situation where, like, I'd be like, if I was an aspiring like actress or something, or singer, I guess. And like Diddy came to me, it was like, or someone, because he was doing this to people, like preying on people that want to have a successful career, but saying like, I'm going to get you there. You need to do what I say. Yeah. And like, it's someone like him in a music industry that's been around for so long. That's really terrifying.
I feel like Aubrey O'Day from Danity Kane is like speaking out against him.
Yeah, I think so.
And the whole Cassie thing was crazy because I think Cassie is breathtaking. So I love anything that she does. And she came out with like a bunch of really horrifying things that he did and made her do and made other people do. And they settled. And then P. Diddy was like, I wish the best for Cassie and her family. And it's like, that's slimy. Everything
so
about
funny.
it was just, it was off-putting.
Yeah, it sucks.
It was so funny. My boyfriend was actually talking about this with me last night. He was like, I genuinely like don't know if I want to have kids because of how fucked up the world is. Like, like when you hear about this and like Quiet on Set, like there is so much like abuse of power, and like it is crazy like how much you can cover up if you have like that much money and like that much power. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are going to slowly come to light this year. Like I feel like it's just going to be like one thing after the other.
Yeah, they're saying this isn't the big problem, which I feel like let's focus on this problem and fix it and like get to the bottom of it. But they're saying it's going to open up a can of worms. Like it's going to go like deep into like, because they were saying that like a lot of people that would come to Diddy's like parties were connected in the industry to other people. Like Prince Harry's name was mentioned. They didn't say Prince Harry was at the parties, but like it can go to a level of like connections of what people know. It's really crazy what's gonna happen.
Well, there's somebody who I spoke to recently who said that they went to a Diddy party, and they said that she was not allowed inside. She was like, we weren't allowed inside of the house. Like, Diddy's parties are outside. If you Google Diddy's parties, you'll see most of them are outside. She was like, it was funky up in there. Like, we weren't allowed to go inside.
That's crazy.
Which is strange.
Anyone else?
I was gonna say, does anybody have
sorry.
something positive on their FYP? Talk about therapy, anxiety.
No. Diddy.
I don't really have anything great. But if I hear the sound, you're the murderer, I fucking can't. And like,
But I think Addison's race, her scream is so good. I love her
wait,
scream.
that's Addison
Yeah,
Rae in that
it's a
sound?
Charlie
Well, not that first part, but the trend is that first part, and then after she's like, "You're the murderer, I knew it."
Yeah,
Then it's Addison's
Addison Rae's
scream,
scream,
and
yeah.
I love it. I think it's it like shoots through my veins.
Have you watched the video that Charlie XCX posted? It's like Addison in the studio.
Yeah,
saying,
and like no one knew she was
I
gonna
know.
scream.
I kept rewatching. I'm like, that's my girl. Ever since Thanksgiving, man. Addison, if you want to come on, like Thanksgiving, that movie. Period.
So good. Okay, I spoke about my immunity necklace earlier. Does anyone have anything to add? Or are you guys being nice this week? So boring.
I said something last week, so it looks like it's you two.
You want to rock, paper, scissors? Who's going to be disrespectful?
Do you have something?
Nope, not a list. But I can think of something.
I mean, I'm missing 3 nails. So if you guys want to get a kick out of this, that's my immunity necklace, because the nail person didn't put enough acrylic on my nails, so they just start popping the fuck off. And I'm paying $70 for my nails to pop off. That's my immunity necklace. I've been keeping it together this whole time. I've been trying to put my hand underneath, but this is the real me. You guys know throughout, like, I was usually better about my nails, but I'm always missing a nail here and there. So, yeah. All right.
It happens.
Love it. Great. Don't fuck with our nails.
If you don't have anything, don't force it.
We're so gracious and grateful to be in first class. That's priority group 1, boarding group 1. Before boarding group 1, they do military, active military, people with children, and those in wheelchairs.
She works for TSA.
Yeah, what the
Obvious.
fuck?
If you are not in that group, sit down. These people packed up like sardines.
This
just
was
one
crazy.
on top of the other.
I've never seen anything like this.
Just bullying to get on the plane. Here's the thing, babes. You're not getting on the plane, because what they do is they look at your boarding pass and say, oh, you're actually group 4.
Yeah.
We're on group 2 right now. So Brandon and I were actually anxious about getting on the plane. We were like, how are we going to get past these people? Lucky for us, TSA was doing their job.
No, like,
That's why I hate flying.
the people that are standing in front of the gate as there's a line of 10 people in wheelchairs that need to get the fuck. How much of an asshole can you be?
Yeah.
Sit the fuck down. You're in boarding group 6. You're going to get in your shitty ass seat eventually. Why are you fucking in the way of these people who need to get on the plane first? Like, the amount of disrespect. And one more fucking thing. One more thing.
See what I did, John?
Lindsay brought a new term to my attention. EE. Elevator etiquette. And boy, oh boy, is it a fucking thing. I have never wanted to speak to a stranger with the amount of disrespect that I wanted to on this Vegas elevator. We are in a big elevator that is not even that crowded.
No, there's 3 of us in it.
Straight cis white man walks in so glued to his fucking phone. When I kid you, he steps maybe an inch in the elevator without looking up. The door's not shutting because his fat ass is in the way. His friend literally goes, dude, move in.
Ew.
And it was just the most like disrespectful, entitled, minuscule interaction that I've ever seen. I almost literally looked at him and said, you do know you're in the real world, right? Like, there's other people in this elevator that are waiting to go downstairs and you just don't even look around you. Like, the amount of, it disgusted me.
When he walked out of the elevator, I said, I want to bully him. Like, I want to
So
say
bad.
mean things to him.
I would have followed him home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what are you doing? What?
No,
Yeah,
that's
he was whack.
crazy.
He was whack.
Well,
Damn.
So
Anything
be
else?
a good person and go to therapy. That's
Yep.
what you can learn from this
Yep.
episode.
Yeah.
Well, that's all, folks. That was
keep it
between us.
between
girls.
us.
Keep it between us, or not. I actually don't give a damn.
Let it get out.
X's and O's, girls.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.